Good morning, my friends. Good morning. It is, and I apologize, I'm like a minute late starting this morning. This is our small group gathering. PB reads the Bible, and it is Tuesday, April 1st. No fool there. And it is now 9:02 because I was a minute late, plus messing around here getting things going. But welcome to our small gathering, small group gathering, I should say. PB reads the Bible. I'm PB. I'm Pastor Brian, pastor here at St. Andrew's United Methodist Church in Milton. And this small group, excuse me, PB reads the Bible. That's exactly what it is. I read the Bible. You follow along in yours, or just listen while you're doing something else, like driving or walking. And then I give some comments, commentary, share some thoughts to help open the scriptures up so we have a better understanding of what's taking place, especially with regards to context. Context means so much when we're trying to understand things. And you also share your comments and your questions. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for taking time out of your day to join me. Some are joining us live in our session here, like I said, 9:03 a.m., while others are joining some other time of the day because they're working or sleeping because their work schedule and all that stuff. I appreciate that you take time to engage and join us in our small group, whatever time it is. And regardless of what time it is, excuse me, of when you're joining, please let me know you're there. Okay, we're a small group, so we share life. So we say hello to each other and things like that. So this is that romper room roll call. Let me know that you're joining our session live or some other time, and also share what's on your hearts and your minds so we can keep each other surrounded and lifted in prayer. So good morning, Cuz. Morning, Bonnie Miller, Pastor. Good to see you there, Cuz. Good morning, John and Cindy. Wonderful to have you joining us as well. And Sharon, great to be gathered with you this morning as well. This is great stuff. So, prayer requests. Got a couple that we're going to talk about. One, of course, the Myanmar earthquake. That's devastating and tragic. Over 2,000 dead so far, confirmed dead. And the whole situation in Myanmar is horrible and horrendous with that civil war and everything. So this is like one more thing for them. So our prayers for that, and yes, there's been an international response, including UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief. Excuse me, got an update on the twins. Those are the babies that were born prematurely a couple months ago. It's more than a couple months. They're almost 4 months old. So got an update here. Don't need to read the whole thing, I'm sure, but remember it's Tommy and Henry. Tommy is 7 pounds and 10 ounces, and Grampy got to hold him, right? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Typical of, as is usual with premature babies, respiratory issues are the biggest problems, the biggest issues, and that's where he's having some struggles. So we keep our prayers going for him that he is doing better, but definitely has what they call sicker lungs, which can often be taken care of just through growth. So praying for growth for him and for his lungs in particular. And Henry, Henry's coming along there, folks. Henry is 5 pounds 2.5 ounces. Woo-hoo. Wonderful. It was just like 410 or 411 last week, so he's doing well there. He's the one that had a heart issue that we're going to have to do surgery on, and they postponed that. They stopped it, and he still might need surgery, but he doesn't need it yet, which is good because it gives him a chance to grow and get a little stronger. And they came to that conclusion by bringing in several different doctors and teams to come up with that. So That's wonderful, wonderful news on the two of them. And so, Bonnie, thank you for sharing that information with us, so we can keep them in our prayers. I see Crystal Wirtz has joined us. Crystal said she won't be able to respond. She's driving, so Crystal, just listen. You don't need to be looking at us. And we continue to pray for Crystal's cousin Rachel. She is in need of that healing, so that they can get on with the next steps in the cancer therapy and treatments. Also prayers for Crystal and for her daughter Helen as they do some traveling later this week. Helen is going to be visiting 3 different colleges, I think Thursday, Friday, and Saturday or something like that. So prayers for her as she goes through the visitation process and the discernment process, and prayers for safe travels for the both of them as they do that. I believe that's all that I have as far as prayer requests. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Continue to share yours, even if you're not joining us live, because like I keep saying, I go back in here to see what I might have missed. Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for this day that you have provided to us. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your concern, which is truly mind-blowing that you, just like the psalmist said, what are humans that you are mindful of them? You have made them little less than gods, little less than angels. It's truly humbling that you think that much about us. And so, God, we trust that you've heard the things we've shared this morning, as well as things we may not have shared, but have been on our hearts. We just entrust all of those things. We place them all in your hands and pray for healing. We also ask, God, that you'll send your Spirit to be with us as we turn to the Bible and try to learn more from it. Open our hearts and our minds to what you would have us receive today. We pray all these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Okay, just checking here and make sure I got everybody. All right. If you noticed on the description for today, the title for today, it just says 43, 44, 45. Today says 46 through 47, verse 26. Woohoo! What? Are you out of your mind, Pastor Brian? We're going to read that much? Yes, we are. Actually, 46 isn't that long, and a good portion of it is a genealogy, so there's not a whole lot to talk about in that. 47 has a little bit more, and you'll notice we're going to stop at verse 26 because they put the chapter break at the wrong spot. Verse 27 actually changes the story a little, goes to a different story, and that story is more connected with 48. So we're going to stop a few verses shy of the end of 47. So bear with me, because it's a lot of reading, but I think we can do it. Chapter 46. When Israel set out on his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Pause. Sacrifices is unusual for Genesis. Offering sacrifices is unusual for the book of Genesis. So we can see that we're getting towards the end of Genesis, and I would say that the editor is trying to make a bigger connection towards Exodus and beyond by placing this story here. And we're going to see the Exodus and the story of that, bigger connections over these last 4 chapters. But only if I keep reading. So verse 2, God spoke to Israel in visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make of you a great nation there. I myself will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also bring you up again, and Joseph's own hand shall close your eyes. Pause. Interesting stuff here. Okay, so first of all, that God speaking to Jacob It's kind of like an echo. Again, I know I use that term a lot, but it's really what it is, a scriptural echo to Abraham. And God's speaking to him that way. In verse 3, the NRSV has an interesting footnote, because it says, "Then he said, I am God." And there's a footnote right after that. In Hebrew, it says it's actually the God. Which is interesting, very specific. Doesn't use God's name, doesn't say Yahweh there, but it does say, I am the God. I am the God. So I just find that interesting. The God of your father. And do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. Again, connection. This is connecting and taking us up through into Exodus, like a transitional statement. But God's message to Jacob is, I will go down with you. This journey isn't just a journey of Jacob / Israel and his family, his clan, but God is going on a journey as well. God is going on this journey with him into Egypt. You guys aren't going to be alone in Egypt. I'm going to be there with you. That's the first time that God has said something like that. He says, I will also bring you up again. Okay, we literally would read that as he's bringing Jacob back, but remember that name Israel. The author, editor, sometimes uses it as for the individual, and sometimes uses it for the entire nation. And so when he says, I will bring you up again, let's not say that God failed in God's promise because Jacob dies, but that God, this is that promise that your people, your descendants won't always be in Egypt. And you're going to get to see Joseph. In fact, he will be there with you when you die. That's the meaning of that expression. His own hand shall close your eyes. He will be with you when you die. Verse 5, Then Jacob set out from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones, and their wives, in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent to carry him. They also took their livestock and the goods that they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and they came into Egypt. Jacob and all his offspring with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters, all his offspring he brought with him into Egypt. Sorry, hang on one second. Now, remember Pharaoh's words. Just you guys come. Don't worry about your stuff. I'm going to be giving you plenty. But they're bringing their stuff with them. They're bringing their stuff with them. Getting a call. I'm going to have to ignore your call for a moment. Okay, he brought everything with him, and they brought everything with them into Egypt. Is that like, I don't know. Are they doubting Pharaoh's promises to them and what Pharaoh had said? Or are they challenging Pharaoh by bringing their stuff with them? Interesting. Now these are the names of verse 8. Now these are the names of the Israelites. Jacob and his offspring who came to Egypt. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and the children of Reuben, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The children of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The children of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The children of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the children of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The children of Issachar, Tola, Puvah, Jashub, and Shimron. The children of Zebulun, Sered, Elan, and Jalil. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Padan Haram, together with his daughter Dinah. And all his sons and his daughters numbered 33. The children of Gad, Ziphion, Hagi, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Aradi, and Areli. The children of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Isvi, Beriah, and their sister Sarah. The children of Beriah, Heber, and Melchiel. These are the daughters of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Leah, and these she bore to Jacob, 16 persons. Pause. I should say this now. Notice those numbers. That's not just the children that Jacob had with each of these women. It's not it's their children and their children's children. So even the grandchildren are Jacob's. Even the grandchildren are Zilpah's, and even the grandchildren are Leah's. Even the grandchildren are Rachel's. So they're their children. Their children. Continuing, verse 19. The children of Jacob's wife Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. To Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore to him. The children of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These are the children of Rachel, who were born to Jacob, 14 persons in all. The children of Dan, Hashum. The children of Naphtali, Jazeel, Guni, Jezer, and Shalem. These are the children of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Rachel, and all these she bore to Jacob, 7 persons in all. All the persons belonging to Jacob who came into Egypt, who were his own offspring, not including the wives of his sons, were 66 persons in all. The children of Joseph, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2. All the persons of the house of Jacob who came into Egypt were 70. Pause. Don't concentrate on the numbers too much, because they seem to contradict each other. Okay, we got the 66, but it also says 70 went into Egypt. But Joseph and his 2 sons were already in Egypt. That makes 69. Where's the 70? It's not. It's a whole big bunch. Okay, but it's a small bunch, but a big bunch at the same time. Verse 28. Israel sent Judah ahead to Joseph to lead the way before him into Goshen. Pause. Yeah, I know I'm in the middle of a verse. Who did Joseph send ahead? That's right, Judah. He doesn't send Reuben or Simeon. He doesn't send the first or second born. He sends Judah. Jacob. Even Jacob realizes that Judah is now the leader of the sons, the leader of the group, of the clans. And he's the one that he's sending ahead of him to prepare the way and to go see Joseph. Picking up from there. When they came to the land of Goshen, Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet his father Israel in Goshen. He presented himself to him, fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a good while. Pause. No words. No words. And perhaps no words were needed. This does demonstrate Joseph has been shown to be an emotional person. Yeah, I don't mean that in a bad way. He's in touch with his emotions. He's in touch with his emotions. He hasn't seen his dad in a long time. Words are not needed. Words are not needed. Verse 30. Israel said to Joseph, I can die now, having seen for myself that you are still alive. Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and will say to him, my brothers and my father's household, who were in the land of Canaan, have come to me. The men are shepherds, for they have been keepers of livestock, and they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. When Pharaoh calls you and says, what is your occupation? You will say, your servants have been keepers of livestock from our youth, even until now, both we and our ancestors, in order that you may settle in the land of Goshen, because all shepherds are abhorrent to the Egyptians. Pause. Did I miss anybody? Oh, I did. I think I missed Becky. Good morning, Becky. Sorry I didn't see you there. Okay, so Joseph has his plan. He goes out and he meets them, and he tells them his plan. I'm going to get you in Goshen. Although we don't know exactly where Goshen was, it seems to be almost like a border community. Perhaps this is and it's supposed to be one of the best, so it's probably near the Nile, or near where the Nile floods, which is very fertile land. Apparently good land, and it's good lands for keeping sheep, keeping livestock. And he wants this land for them. And again, maybe it's because it's so good there, but maybe also because it's sort of a border land, a border community, and that might be a little bit easier for them to make an escape should they need to. And he's got this plotted out, and he's using a slight ruse. It's not a total lie, because his family has been shepherds. They've been caring for livestock. Now he's just putting a strong emphasis on that's what they do. Because the Egyptians, it was a job or a career that was looked down upon, and people didn't want to associate with them. Abhorrent is a little bit of a strong word, but we get the picture. Okay? So, chapter 47. So Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father and my brothers, with their flocks and herds and all that they possess, have come from the land of Canaan. They are now in the land of Goshen." Pause. Notice, Pharaoh told them just leave everything behind. They ignored that and they brought their stuff. Joseph kind of is bold here and says they brought everything with them. They brought all their stuff, and I've settled them in the land of Goshen. Verse 2. Let's see, how does Pharaoh react? Verse 2. From among his brothers he took 5 men and presented them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to his brothers, "What is your occupation?" And they said to Pharaoh, "Your servants are shepherds, as our ancestors were." They said to Pharaoh, "We have come to reside as aliens in the land. For there is no pasture for your servants' flocks, because the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. Now we ask you, let your servants settle in the land of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. Let them live in the land of Goshen, and if you know that there are capable men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." Pause. There's some interesting words taking place here. Joseph says they have come, they are now in the land of Goshen. Joseph's wording, although we may not really pick up on it in English, is that they're going to inhabit the land. They're going to stay there. Their language is a little bit different when talking with Pharaoh. They use almost like sojourner language. They refer to themselves as aliens, which we might think, well, that's because they're from another place. Well, but an alien, especially at that time, didn't really stay there. They were there for a time and then moved on. So their language, including settle, which we might think of settle as stay, but it's more of a temporary settlement. We're just going to be here for a while because of this famine, and then we're going to want to go back to Canaan. Okay. Pharaoh receives Joseph's message, receives the brothers, has that conversation with them, then turns to Joseph and says, "Go ahead. The land, all of the land of Egypt is before you. Give them the best. Settle them wherever you want. Let them live in the land of Goshen." And he says, "And if you know that there are capable men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." That was a practice at the time, even though they didn't like shepherds and didn't think it was a very good job. They needed somebody to take care of their livestock. So Pharaoh is putting them in charge of his stuff. He's elevating them right off the bat. Picking up from there, verse 7. Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and presented him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pause. Okay, that's great, right? Oh, he offered a blessing. How nice of him. But notice what he doesn't do. He doesn't do like obeisance. He doesn't bow. He doesn't throw himself down on the ground in front of Pharaoh or anything like that. He just offers him a blessing. Verse 8. Pharaoh said to Jacob, "How many are the years of your life?" Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The years of my earthly sojourn are 130. Few and hard have been the years of my life. They do not compare with the years of the life of my ancestors during their long sojourn." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from the presence of Pharaoh. So Jacob offered a second blessing. He offers a blessing over Pharaoh when he first meets him, and then after they have a conversation, he's getting ready to leave, he offers another blessing over Pharaoh. Verse 11, Joseph settled his father and his brothers and granted them a holding in the land of Egypt, in the best part of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had instructed. And Joseph provided his father, his brothers, and all his father's household with food according to the number of their dependents. Pause. So where they use that language of settling and aliens and stuff like that, Joseph gives them a holding. That's more possessive, and that's more firm. That's more permanent than the idea of just settling and moving on, living as aliens here for a while. My chai is getting cold. And he takes care of them with food and distributes them based on the number of dependents. Okay? So, which is wonderful and blessing, he's truly taking care of them. Truly taking care of them. Notice what he's not doing. He's not charging them, right? And he never has. The other times that they came to buy food, when they went to buy food, he gave them their money back. What is Joseph doing with the rest of the people of Egypt, the people of the land, right? Well, now we're going to find out. Verse 13. Now there was no food in all the land, for the famine was very severe. The land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money to be found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, in exchange for the grain that they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. When the money from the land of Egypt and from the land of Canaan was spent, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? For our money is gone." And Joseph answered, "Give me your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for your livestock, if your money is gone." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for the horses, the flocks, the herds, and the donkeys. That year he supplied them with food in exchange for all their livestock. Pause. So far he's taken all their money, and now he's taken all of their livestock. Yes, giving it to Pharaoh, but I'm sure Pharaoh is blessing him, right? Giving him a portion, a percentage. He's getting quite wealthy because of this deal. And remember, who is in charge of taking care of the livestock? Yeah, that's right, Joseph's brothers. Verse 18. When that year was ended, they came to him the following year and said to him, "We cannot hide from my lord that our money is all spent, and the herds of cattle are my lord's. There is nothing left in the sight of my lord but our bodies and our lands. Shall we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We with our land will become slaves to Pharaoh. Just give us seed so that we may live and not die, and that the land may not become desolate. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold their fields because the famine was severe upon the land, and the land became Pharaoh's. As for the people, he made slaves of them from one end of Egypt to the other. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, for the priests had a fixed allowance from Pharaoh and lived on the allowance that Pharaoh gave them. Therefore they did not sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "Now that I have this day bought you and your land for Pharaoh, here is seed for you. Sow the land. And at the harvests you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh, and 4/5 shall be your own, as seed for the field, and as food for yourselves and your households, and as food for your little ones." They said, "You have saved our lives. May it please my Lord, we will be slaves to Pharaoh." So Joseph made it a statute concerning the land of Egypt, and it stands to this day, that Pharaoh should have the fifth. The land of the priests alone did not become Pharaoh's. End of verse 26, and that's where we're going to stop today. So he he got all their money, he got all their livestock, he got all their land, and he made them all slaves for Pharaoh. I see, and I'm sure you follow this connection towards the Exodus, because, here it's the Egyptians that are slaves. Is that going to last? Or what's going to happen? He seems to have set up this economy based on slavery. And of course this one only benefits Pharaoh. But he's got this economy built on slavery. What's going to happen? We'll have to tune in on Thursday to get the remainder of chapter 47. We'll finish chapter 47 and do 48 on Thursday. And unless there's an emergency where I can't get on, it looks like I'll be able to be here on Thursday, and it looks like I'll be able to do this live Tuesday and Thursday next week. In which case, it looks like, because we're doing like the extra half chapter today and tomorrow, I think we'll be finished up next week before we even get into Holy Week. So that's pretty good. Oh, whew. But that was a pretty long session. Well, not as long as I thought it might have been. So, my friends, thanks for joining with me in our small group session. I pray that this has been beneficial to you, that you've learned something, relearned something, that God has spoken to you in some way. As you go about your days, not just today, but every day, keep your eyes and ears, physical and spiritual, open to everything that our living, loving, active God is doing in your life and in the lives of those around you. When you see it, when you hear it, say, "Thank you, Papa," and then tell somebody about it. In fact, come back and tell us. Until we meet again, my friends, be blessed. Be blessed. Bye.